Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Glenturret 50-year-old. Dustin, Highland Distillery, I don't know if we've ever even got to a Glenturret before, have we?
No, so when there was a lot of hype going around when these guys first kind of redid the branding around 2020 or 2021, I think our buddy Jason over at Mash and Drum came over and he brought the 12.
Yes, I do remember that now. I do remember that.
I wasn't blown away.
Sure, that was
I've gotten a couple samples of the 12 cents, and I'm still not blown away. But I figured cast strength, why not just go straight to the 15 or top shelf whiskey? Why start at the bottom?
Yeah, 50.8% ABV, the 2024 release. I tell you what, beautiful bottle. You said it was made by Lalique, is that right?
So they're actually the ones who own Glenturret. So,
okay.
So it's like, normally you'd pay $1,000 for a Lalique decanter.
Decanter, yeah.
Oh yeah, look at the bottom.
Yeah, look at the bottom, it's thick.
Really nice.
It is nice. Nice cork, nice classy label too on this.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a super high-end crystal decanter here. I think you get to their older stuff, that is. This one. But so this is supposed to be a very dirty sherry, Mike.
Yeah.
And I have had...
Heavy sherry.
I've gotten to have some of this Glenturret ex-bourbon from some independents. Mm-hmm. It's a very clean malt.
Is this peated?
They do a peated line. I don't believe this is peated, although my palate thinks there could be something here.
All right, let's get to it, Dustin.
And the nose makes me think a little bit of peat could be in here. But
man, it comes off super red. Cherries, heavy sherry, raisins. Feels an awful lot like a sherry bomb.
Yeah. With like a dirty, like Rocky Road ice cream on the finish.
Let me get to it. I'm just getting to it. It's my first time.
Like, I'm just jumping right through because, like, that's what's coming out first for me, guys, is there's this, like, it's like Rocky Road, like a little bit of rum or something. Alcohol's kind of come in there. It's just like a dirty, funky malt at the end.
There is like a funky chocolate note to it. Chocolate or fudge, something like that.
They put raisins in it.
I said raisins before.
They were wrong.
Oh, wow.
The raisins are good up front. They're just not supposed to be in the chocolate.
This would remind me of the sherry kind of punch that I got from first time I had a Devil's Cast. I think it was the third one from Bowmore. It was super just over the top, punchy sherry like this.
They give me very much this like...
It's juicy though.
If you were to put some kind of like alcoholic like liqueur on an ice cream, like that level of alcohol note just keeps coming through here. It's
now you mentioned that's the second time you mentioned the ice cream note, so maybe it is influenced. But my dad always liked this mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Oh, interesting.
And so I said before chocolate. There is a chocolate. It is chocolate or fudge, but I can almost get like mint chocolate chip ice cream on this because it almost is like a cooling note to it as well.
See,
Ardbeg-ish.
I was gonna say there's a smoky note here, but the more I smell that smoke, the more you know what. It is kind of a cooling smoke, Ardbeg-ish.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, you said, is it a peated or not? I said, well, they make a peated Glenturret. This isn't, but I tell you, there's a little peat note here, which I don't get on those independents.
Dare I say a twinge of menthol?
I would agree with you, man.
Man, this is so soaked in sherry and raisins, though. Woo! This is actually fairly accessible as far as like peeling back some layers on it too.
Yeah, see, I'm glad that you're jumping out on the sherry notes because when I nose this, I go right to the funkiness on the back end.
Give it to me.
So like that's what I've been talking about is the funkiness. Like you're right. There's cherries. There's raisins. There's a lot of sherry. That is the dominant thing here. But the part of the sherry that's imparted that I keep picking up is that dirty, funky weirdness on the malt. Because again, I've had this malt. It's a clean, fairly straightforward kind of vanilla kind of malt. It's actually a really good malt.
Well, I tell you what, man, there's nothing that's coming off young on this. This does come off high ABV. Mm-hmm. Like it's really aggressive on the nose, but it's still there's a difference between high ABV and young whiskey. There's a smoothness to it, and that's not a word I like to use on a palate descriptive, but on the nose, it fits here.
There's almost a creaminess to the nose, which is a texture, but I mean, there's a creaminess. No, you're right. There's nothing young. I like the 15-year mark. As prices are getting kind of crazy on a lot of whiskey lately, Mike, the 15's kind of like look, I get it. We all want to pay the 15-year price today for 18-year-old whiskey, but if we can't, 15's a good compromise because 12 is still a little young.
A lot of people make a lot of people make a good 15-year-old whiskey. Balvenie with the single barrel series always made a good whiskey. I mean, Glenfiddich, even that 15, I remember being
actually
nice
it's
15.
A really good one. 40%.
Right,
I would actually have that on
the
my
French
shelf
Oak, I know.
But
yes,
Glenfiddich is the Solera with
Solera. That's you're really exactly right. But I totally agree with you, man. 15 years is definitely you're getting into older Scotch, single malt Scotch. That is not a young Scotch.
Youth has always left 15 years that I've had,
Yes,
whereas 12 sometimes can give you a little bit of youth. That it's not necessarily off-putting, but it's definitely you don't feel like you're having a refined whiskey.
This is part of the reason why we haven't compared multiple versions of the Long Row Reds. Because it's just so obvious as they get older, they get a little bit better. I mean, it's not 100% the case, but it's often the case. And once you get to 15, there's no comparison.
Yeah. We got to talk about the Long Row Red topic and Springbank in general as we get to some Springbanks today, Mike.
Yeah, so back to this one, man. Excellent presentation. Again, I haven't had a ton from this distillery, but there's nothing off-putting whatsoever. This is a really nice experience. Good sharp AV.
It can be a little funky for some people, I'm going to go out on the limb and say. I mean, if you are somebody who doesn't like funky sherry, and I'm kind of leaning that way as a general rule of thumb, this is a bit funky, although I got to say, Mike, letting it sit in the glass, giving it time, it is a nice overall experience. Just kind of like got some sour, like blackberries meets raspberries kind of thing as well on the end here.
Very nice herb. Initially, big sherry. Initially kind of tart when you first swallowed it. Just a sharp swell of tartness, and then it smoothed out. A bunch of berries, mixed berries, blackberries, red berries, blueberries, even maybe. Tartness kind of stays with you through the whole experience. Then kind of comes in the chocolate and the fudge. Just a spine of dirtiness, though. It wasn't as dirty on the nose for me as it was on the palate. A little earthy with that. Man, nice first experience.
Definitely earthy, almost a little cardboardy on the finish, which I'm going back and forth on. To me, that's a sign that this really would shine at 18 years versus the 15.
Maybe.
To your point, initial arrival, it is sour, it is funky, but it's just a red fruit basket, just coming at you with all kinds of good stuff.
Very aggressive fruits.
Really beautiful. Again, like the nose, it drinks a lot hotter than the 50.8. It drinks more like 58 than 50.8.
Look, it still doesn't come off young, but just like on the nose, it came off sharp and hot.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, we just talked about how 15 is a good age. Well, it's not quite always old whiskey, and this is definitely not that.
It's not young whiskey is what we said.
Yeah.
It definitely isn't young.
Yeah, there's no youthful notes. I don't get any off-profile.
Still, correct. Right, but there's no youthful notes to this whatsoever.
A lot of funkiness, a lot of dirtiness, but it's not overly oaky. It's not overly charred. It is a clean, dirty sherry cask, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. This doesn't come off like they used hogsheads that they recharred.
Correct.
It doesn't come off like they used just the absolute rot gut sherry that I think a few guys are. Because the reality is, we're not getting drinking sherry in sherry casks almost anywhere. No. They're almost all coming through. I don't know where they're getting their sherry. I don't know if it's French or American oak. I didn't look to see if it said so. Wouldn't shock me if this is European oaks, which are a little harsher.
It tended to impart a little more spice, which now on the long linger I'm getting more of. It's a little bit of a spice build here.
I should note there's also a little bit of nuttiness on the palate and the nose. A little bit of a beer nuts meets a chestnut kind of thing.
I tell you what, I like what water's done in the nose. Smoothed it out. Now it's raspberries and chocolate. And a little bit of outside it just rained and the door's open.
Chocolates definitely come up here. I forgot to mention, Mike, but on the palate, I really didn't get the smoke note as much. It's more of a nosing thing.
Did I say smoke?
I don't think either of us said it on the palate. Well, you mentioned the mintiness, I guess, on the nose more. I didn't get that on the palate.
A little bit of menthol, I think is what I said.
Yeah, I didn't really get that on the palate, so.
A little bit of mint chocolate chip ice cream's gone, although there still is a little bit of that fudge, little fudge drizzle in the background. The red fruits are here really predominant for me. I keep coming back to that.
It's got that fresh oak note, which again is a sign of not young and not old whiskey. It's been in a cask long enough to pick up some nice oak, but not enough where it's kind of getting your grandfather's armoire or something. You're in the basement smelling some, ancient furniture that's been down there for a decade.
Sure, doubles count, Dustin. Everything has to be a home run. And that's kind of where I'm getting towards this. This is just a very solid. You could simply call it a sherry bomb, but a decently aged sherry bomb that had, I would say, better than average casks.
Yes, and again, if you are somebody who enjoys dirty sherry, good grief, this is going to be up your alley. Yeah.
Again, that Bowmore's Overcast 3. This is almost a superior version of it. Takes all of the plastic things I don't like about Bowmore, but the point is it's a similar fun experience. What did you pick this up for?
Oh, it was just shy of $150. This wasn't a cheap bottle. Maybe just over $150 actually with shipping. I don't get you cask strength 15 year. I don't think it's bad. Good cherry casks. Great bottle presentation. I didn't bring out the box earlier, but I don't know if I love the blue part of the box.
I almost thought that was to Glenfiddich at first.
Yeah, the front's beautiful.
Or Glenlivet.
I don't know about the blue, but anyway, one thing I do like, by the way, 2024 release right there.
It's also on the label.
So they make sure when you pick these up, you're getting, the 21, the 22, 23. That's great because I'm sure there's a little batch variation, as we all expect.
I love the simplicity of their labels, both the label and the box.
I love the front. It's the blue. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on labels. It doesn't matter. You're right. That is a beautiful
label. Coat of arms. Label. I mean, my family has one of those. Yeah, I mean, what could be better?
I love that.
I tell you what, the bottle, when you took the bottle out of the box, I was like, wow. That's a substantial difference.
This is much more of a presentation.
Correct.
The box is really just to protect the...
you want the bottle out.
Yeah, this is... Once you get it out, you put it out there, and maybe you save that if you ever have to travel like I do to Mike's house to bring whiskey.
Yeah, so dusting with water. I mean, again, a little more chocolate, a little more fudge, kind of brought down the sharper notes. You didn't get as much of a sour swell, kind of mellowed that all out. I mean, I still would probably prefer it neat just because it's less interesting, but I'd say it handled water pretty well. It tamed it up quite a bit.
I actually prefer it with the water because it kind of takes out some of it cut the funk down a little bit for me. I prefer my sherry a little less funky than this. I think it really hit the spot for me on like what I like. It does have sort of a kind of sulfuriness to it, I think, Mike. Some people are going to come up with that, a little bit of rubberiness. I wouldn't say pencil shavings. More to me, it's a little bit of rubberiness. Like,
I was going to say the thing I mentioned the comparison with the Devil's Cast Bowmore and like that, where that was a plasticky. This was more. I was going to say tar, but we're kicking around the same thing. I'm sure Narby would have a problem with it.
Yes. They actually, I know they like the 12 pretty well.
This is pretty substantial share of cast maturation on this whiskey.
Quality.
I mean, yeah, it is. It is pretty quality, but that is the show. All right, Dustin, whiskey score time. It's your bottle, so I'll go first. I'm going to put this right there, and it will work with the price point. A very fun whiskey, enjoyable whiskey. I like drinking at 88. That's exactly what an 88 is.
Boom, right there with you, Mike. I was, in my head, I thought about an 87 for a second. I said, no, mouthfeel's too good. Flavor is too good.
Haven't touched on mouthfeel, but yes.
When I took that last drink and I kind of had a nice firm pour, I mean, it's still lingering. Everything's tingling. It's really nicely done. This held water beautifully. Now, 88 all day. This is a really well done whiskey. This is something, if it's in your price range, should be on your bar.
Yeah, if you like sherry cask, for sure. It looks great. I mean, presentation-wise and the punch from the whiskey, you'll remember both of those things.
Yeah.
$150, what can you expect these days?
This is a really good whiskey for that price. I don't know what the U.S. price will be if we get it here. I'm guessing 200. Could be 200.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm starting to kind of go, and that's why you just buy it for the UK.
There could be worse buys.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. If you guys had a chance to try this Glenturret 15-year-old, let us know what you guys think. Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Happy dirty drinking.
See you next time.